Toga, toga, toga. Oh yes, guys. We're bringing back the toga just like we did in January 2024. But this time we're taking a look back at our retro review series of January 1994 and every couple of years after that, bringing us outside of the modern day by 5 years. So 30, 20, 10, and 5. And you know, this episode has got me thinking how obscure and different some games are going to be on this list when we go back to how sparse the releases of 1994 were. But hey, we got our togas. We got victory. Anyway, see you on the flip side, guys. On with the episode. Toga. 30 years ago. Okay, next up we have a game called Fire Emblem Mystery of the Emblem, and I wouldn't be surprised if many of you have heard about this before, as it is a very long running series. This game was apparently only released in Japan until sometime around the early 2000s and then became sort of a cult hit from the Super Nintendo RPGs. Fire Emblem Mystery of the Emblem. What a goddamn title. I think the name gets lost in translation since in Japanese the title's called Fire Emblem Monsho Nanozo. Okay guys, I probably butchered that. Look, I don't speak Japanese. I'm just trying, okay? Give the man a break, people. Released on January 21st, this is set on the continent of Arcana. You control a warrior named Marth and his army to restore peace to the land of Arcana by stopping the sorcerer Garnov. This whole section of the game is called Book 1 and is actually a remake of an earlier incarnation of this game. Book 2 is where the new material releases and 1994 begins. Hardin, an NPC and ally from Book 1, ascends to the throne of Arcana, but all is not right in the heart and soul of Hardin. No, Hardin, no! I was rooting for you! We were all rooting for you! God damn it, Hardin!
I was rooting for you! We were all rooting for you! How dare you! Learn something from this!
2 years after Book 1, Hardin has declared war, to nobody's surprise, to expand the kingdom. Marth, having carried out a bunch of raids on neighbouring kingdoms, takes a moment to question these orders. It is at this point Marth discovers Hardin has been corrupted by an evil relic called the Dark Sphere and is now possessed by evil. Marth is now set on a quest to collect the Life Sphere and 3 other spheres for the good ending at least, to rid Hardin and the Kingdom of Arcana of the powers of the Dark Sphere and again return peace to the land and restore sanity to Hardin. Or you could just leave him die, whichever, it's completely up to you, but look, game wants what the game wants. You return and first use the Life Sphere on Hardin after a battle. Hardin is freed of the evil and is once again himself, but he's been mortally wounded as a result of the Dark Sphere and dies. I would be sad, but good enough for him, I suppose. If you collected the other 3 spheres, you then use all 5 of them to unlock the Binding Shield. Marth heads off to face Garnov and the Dark Dragon Medusa one more time, but with his shiny new shield. And if you know your Greek myths, you know Medusa plus shiny/magic shield equals good guy wins. Marth kills Garnov and destroys Medusa for good and the true ending. True peace is finally restored and now Marth is made king. Released on the first week of January of 1994, this game came in right under everyone's radar, but still got pretty good reviews. Like the majority of Disney games made by Capcom in the early 90s, this game was full of, wait for it, platforming! The storyline follows a typical Rescue Rangers episode format. Chip and Dale and the others are hanging out at the treehouse when they hear there is a bomb about to go off in a nearby restaurant. They rush over to defuse the bomb and catch the bomber, a rabbit by the way, of course it was, that tells the Rangers, "Fat Cat made me do it, he broke out of prison last night." After several failed attempts by the Rangers to catch Fat Cat and several failed attempts by Fat Cat to stop the Rangers, one of which involves a magic urn and evil spirits for no reason, Fat Cat, say Fat Cat again, say it again, gets away just as the Rangers escape his trap safely, leaving him free to return again and stop the Rangers from stopping him? Okay, guys, I'm seeing a big plot hole in this relationship the Rangers and Fat Cat have. His plans are about getting rid of the Rangers, but the only reason the Rangers go after him is because he's trying to get rid of them. Am I overthinking this? I don't know, who cares? Do you care? I don't care. I loved Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers when I was growing up, so bring it on, Fat Cat. You go do your thing, man. I love you. Released January 29th, our next title takes players on an adventure through all kinds of lands and settings. Venture through a Tower of Light, ancient ruins, an ice castle, a volcano, and the great ancient sister cities of Ark and Toronto? What? Toronto? Oh yeah, the Blue Jays were World Series champions 2 years in a row. And then never again just before this game was made. Guess there were baseball fans working on this. Well, welcome to Brainlord. This was a very short but interesting game produced by Enix. You may know them as Square Enix now, from the Final Fantasy series, etc. And is best described as similar to Zelda. You play as Ramir, the son of the last dragon warrior. Your father set out to slay the last dragon terrorizing the town and never returned. It is now up to you and your 3 friends, or other party members, to make it through the 5 dungeons before you can fight the dragon and discover what happened to your father. That's it. That's all the promo material that I have for this one. Like, that's how obscure this one is. I told you guys at the start there are going to be some obscure ones, but look, here it is. One other fun note mentioned on the wiki, Ramir had another name called Lemil and was used in 2 other Enix titles, the 7 Saga, which released a few months before Brainlord, and Mystic Arc, which released a little over a year after Brainlord. Sorry guys, like as I said, releases 1994 for January, they were sparse. SARS. 20 years ago. Released on January 13th, 2004, Fallout Brotherhood of Steel is an ARPG addition to the Fallout franchise and is little more on the forgettable side. But then again guys, we gotta work with what we got for these releases. This game featured a linear storyline with no open world or sandbox style playthrough like the other Fallout games, and this did not impress the fanbase. The story has you playing as Initiate to the Brotherhood of Steel and allows you to pick up one of several playable characters such as Kane, Cyrus or Nadia. Your first task takes you to the town of Carbon, where you encounter the charming mayor that directs you to a nearby crater and then promptly tries to ambush you after informing you he is the leader of a group of raiders. You kill him and discover the town is being raided. After saving the town, you are given actual information to go to Loss and the next zone in the game. In Loss, you run into pretty much a rinse and repeat of the first part of the game, but this time it's a cult and a separatist group fighting a war in the town of Loss. Since all the city's civil conflicts are sorted, you are now pointed to a vault that is under the control of a super mutant army led by a mutant called Attis. On to Act 3. Would you look at that? Another group of people that need your help, this time from being killed by Attis. So safe to say, the people kill the super mutants army, chase down Attis for some chit chat, where he tells you his evil plan, then turns into a giant blob monster. Because of course he does. You have to escape before the vault self-destructs, Resident Evil Countdown style. You then watch as the vault's reactor goes into critical and explodes in a huge nuclear detonation, and roll credits. Can you tell why people didn't like this one and no one really remembers it? Hard to explain really.
To tame the monster-filled reaches of the Western Heartlands. Perhaps it is for this reason that the realm welcomes ambitious adventurers. And Baldur's Gate, its greatest city, calls to them like a siren luring mariners to their doom.
Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2 released on January 20th and was the hack and slash ARPG that allows players to choose one of 5 playable characters, each with their own reason to have some of the town of Baldur's Gate. You know, money, vengeance, recover lost memories, you know, that type of thing. Those familiar with Baldur's Gate series will already kind of know what is in store for the heroes and the format this game follows. Your party arrives in town, is hired to investigate crimes. This leads you to a group of bandits you're told to take out. The leader of these bandits reveals the actual bad guy is one that was hired in the first place, and this reveals the actual story. So the story from here is that the Onyx Tower is gone from the first game and 2 groups are attempting to bring it back, the Harpers and the Zentarium. And you end up working with the Harpers to find 4 elemental objects that will be used in the elemental realms to activate the foundations in each realm and bring the tower back to Baldur's Gate. You know, that's it. All there is to it. So after the first half of the game ends and collecting the 4 objects, the party takes some time out before continuing and splits up to each complete their own separate side stories. No spoilers. And with the to-do lists all checked, the party gathers again and proceeds to go from each elemental realm to elemental realm, fighting the members of the Zentarium in each realm standing in their way, which you have met throughout the story already. However, when they arrive in the final realm, they encounter Karn, a high-ranking member of the Zentarium, that tells the party they no longer wish to bring back the Onyx Tower, and the Zentarium and Harpers have a common enemy now. You will be informed that the vampire Murdoch has been using both of the groups for his evil plans. You attack and fail to stop Murdoch and return to Baldur's Gate to discover now it's called Murdoch's Gate, and the town is filled with zombies. Brains. Must eat brains. And now the party must kill Murdoch and his forces and restore the townspeople from the brains-eating zombies that they are. They discover Murdoch in the elemental plane of Shadow, how fitting, and kill him, and then destroy the Onyx Tower, returning the gate and town to its normal state. We are then treated to a mysterious epilogue of a random servant speaking to a sarcophagus, telling it Murdoch has failed, and the gate still stands. A disembodied voice then replies from within the sarcophagus saying that the failure has not interrupted his sacred mission, and orders the servant to prepare the army and his sun barge. And that's the last we ever actually heard of it. I do kind of wonder what really happened to it. I wonder if they'll bring out a Dark Alliance 3 and the sun barge. Maybe it got lost halfway, maybe had to stop, get directions. But in truth, it was due to the closure of Black Isle Studios shortly thereafter. No sun barge for us, guys. So this is a classic, and it's one that even if you don't know the game, you've totally seen the memes to come out of this game. Released on January 23rd to the Game Boy Advance, this was a visual novel adventure game and a hilarious one. You alternate playing as either Phoenix and Maya, 2 defense attorneys through 5 cases or episodes. Each episode includes 2 crucial sections, the investigation section and the courtroom section. After all, this is Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Trials and Tribulations. In the investigation section, you attempt to gather information on the case and possible evidence that you can use to defend your client. Basically, the more evidence you collect, the more your client or witnesses will divulge to you, and the better your defense will be in the courtroom section. The courtroom section has you defending your client against the plaintiff's legal representatives, as well as cross-examining their witness, looking for contradictions and loopholes to get your client cleared of whatever their charges are. I know it sounds boring, but all the fun is in how you present the action of being a lawyer, while also having you defend people in some really out there cases that would make even a daytime courtroom drama writer say, this is a little bit too much, but in the best way possible, thanks to superhero animations and other dramatic art used to punctuate every moment of success or failure. Episode 1, for example, is used to introduce you to both characters and take place 5 years before the rest of the game. Maya is currently defending Phoenix, who is facing charges for murder. This is back in Phoenix's college years, as he's been accused of killing another student. Maya, through this case, not only clears Phoenix, but proves who really did it. Phoenix's girlfriend, FYI, I know spoilers. And discovers her evil plot to kill Maya's ex as well. All in a day's work as a lawyer, guys. "10 years ago."
Relive history. Using Abstergo's incredible research into genetic memory, Animus gives you the chance to game within the past.
So while my general rule of thumb whilst writing these episodes is to avoid things like remastered titles on the list, well, once again, this is January and there wasn't a lot coming out for the original stuff back in the day, like I've mentioned at least twice now. This HD remaster of Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation was released on January 15th, 2014. This game in the series of Assassin's Creed begins in the province of Louisiana during the Spanish occupation. You play as Evelyn, a daughter of a French noble and African slave, and her time as an assassin between the years of 1765 and 1777 spent not only fighting the Templar, but also working secretly to help free slaves from the province. The game also incorporates various historical events in typical Assassin's Creed fashion, from the change of power from the French to the Spanish in Louisiana at the end of the 7 Years' War up to around the middle and height of the American Revolution War for independence. Liberation was also notable for being the first Assassin's Creed game to feature a female character as the main playable character.
A famous explorer once said that the extraordinary is in what we do, not who we are. I'd finally set out to make my mark, to find adventure.
Released on January 28th, this was the first title in the reboot of the Tomb Raider series carried out by Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix. You take control of a young Lara Croft recently out of school and looking to make a name for herself in the world of archaeology. While on her most recent expedition looking for the mythical lost island of Yamatai off the coast of Japan and fabled island of the Sun Queen, who was said to have shamanistic powers to control the weather, foreshadowing much. While sailing to the location Lara believes is the location of the island, they encounter a storm, told you, foreshadowing, and find themselves shipwrecked on the island of Yamatai with a violent cult called the Solari Brotherhood. After a few bad encounters with the cult, Lara is saved by a samurai called Oni and is taken to a sacred chamber to learn of the fire ritual that is used to find the successor to the Sun Queen. With this information, Lara now realizes the cult is looking for this successor and intends to carry out the ritual on her fellow crewmate Sam. Lara rushes to the palace on the island and tries to stop the ritual before Sam is put to the literal flame. Overpowered, Lara is forced to watch as Sam is subjected to the ritual. Luckily for Sam, she's in a Tomb Raider game where there are lots of magical secrets for Lara to witness, and this is one of them, as Sam lucks out and is the Sun Queen's successor, saving her from the fire. After a couple of failed escape attempts and losing a few more of the named crew members, she and the crew managed to escape, including Sam saved by Whitemore. Upon returning to the mainland, Lara discovers the final piece of the puzzle is in an ancient tomb with the remains of a general from the Storm Guard of the Sun Queen named Oni. Oh yeah, it's all coming together now.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
She also discovers his final notes and explains that the Sun Queen can live forever by transferring her soul in the body of a successor. However, Oni helped the successor escape before being made the next host to the Queen's soul. This trapped her soul in her dead body. Lara returns to Sam and the rest of the crew to discover that Whitemore has taken Sam and is part of the cult. Flash forward to the final level that has Lara fighting her way through the cult, killing the leader, saving Sam, and escaping the island once more. Because she is Lara Mother effing Croft. Released on January 24th, this game was your typical fighter from Bandai Namco, with most of the storyline being implied and happening in the DBZ movie Battle of the Gods. Yes guys, this is Dragon Ball Z after all, Battle of Z. The game featured 70 different characters where each different form or appearance of the same character would appear as a different character slot. So you have regular Goku in one slot, Dead Goku in another, Super Saiyan Goku in another, etc. Where the game stood out was in a new multiplayer function known as Team Battle that allowed you and 3 other players to form a team and then battle against another team of 4. Where different team builds allowed for different special dynamics and attacks in the fight or mission. And that's kind of all we got for this one. There wasn't really much more to say. Anyway, Dragon Ball Z. Woohoo! Go Super Saiyan mode! Woo! "5 years ago.
In a wild, wild world, there were 2 wolf brothers living in their home lair with their Papa Wolf. They all lived happily together, but one day, hunters took their dad away.
Life is Strange 2 Episode 2 Rules, released on January 24, 2019, and this was the second episode in the anthology. So a quick explanation before talking about this episode. Okay, so we have 2 brothers as our main characters. They are Daniel, who is 9 years old, and Sean, who is 16, living with their father Esteban in Seattle. Okay, we good so far? While being bullied, Daniel accidentally hurts the kid bullying him, and this is seen by a police officer. Now, while dealing with the police, an explosion occurs, killing Esteban, remember the father, and the boy flees, making them into fugitives. Now, on the run from the police, the boys decide to attempt to make it to their father's property in Mexico. The first episode reveals that Daniel not only has telekinetic powers, but these powers caused the explosion that killed their father. So episode 2 starts with the boys continuing their long trek while trying to remain hidden from the authorities, and winter in the American Midwest begins to set in. Eventually, Sean notices that Daniel appears to be getting sick and decides they need to change their plans and seek shelter for a while. Realizing their grandparents live nearby, they attempt to hide there. Whilst taken in by their grandparents, Sean attempts to hide Daniel's powers from his grandparents and the neighbours. But when a neighbour boy Daniel has befriended falls from a tree, Daniel uses his powers to save him. Shortly after this, the police arrive to question the grandparents and have they seen or heard from the boys, while the grandparents and Daniel's friend help the boys escape once more, ending the episode. This episode takes about 3 hours to complete in length, but if you wanted to obtain everything, it would probably take about 4 hours. So yeah, nice, short and sweet. Like myself. Yay!
Focus, Claire. Focus.
Released on January 25th, Resident Evil 2 is the first game to get a major reboot and reimagining of the Resident Evil franchise for the modern gaming world, and also sparked the huge market of reboots we've seen since. Resident Evil 2 has us return to Raccoon City in the middle of a zombie apocalypse as rookie police officer Leon and Claire Redfield, a woman who's looking for her brother Chris Redfield, are STARS operative that was attempting to infiltrate the Umbrella Corporation, as they both explore Raccoon City and try to piece together just what the hell was going on here. Leon is aided by a supporting character and fierce fashionista, Special Agent Ada Wong of the FBI, or is she, investigating the Umbrella Corporation, while Claire follows another supporting character and most unlucky child with genius parents, Sherry Birkin, the young daughter of the head researcher and mad scientist behind the G-Virus. As the game goes on, you fight your way through various stages, solve little puzzles, and fight enemies including the super mutant BOWs like the Tyrant, aka Mr. X. Eventually, you'll go below Raccoon City, run through the sewers, whee, fight some blob monster things, because there has to be a blob monster, and eventually gain access to the Nest, a secret Umbrella research facility where work on the G-Virus has gone tits up thanks to good old-fashioned greed and corporate espionage. After both Leon and Claire have their storylines' final showdowns done and dusted, Leon can see to Agent Wong's mission and make sure she does not get away with the G-Virus for her buyers. Oh yeah, there's that. And Claire can make sure the now infected Sherry gets the antivirus and taken to safety. What an amazing game. January 29th, Kingdom Hearts 3 sees Sora returned with an all-new adventure hack-and-slash game that was at least 6 years in the making. The game featured its iconic mix between action-adventure RPGs typical of Square Enix games and Disney characters and world. Sora is back traveling between worlds with Donald and Goofy to regain his powers of awakening to restore lost hearts, while Yen Sid is training new Keyblade wielders to fight against Organization 13 and their Heartless, and Riku, partnered with Mickey, are seeking Aqua. Eventually, Mickey and Riku run into and are attacked by a corrupted Aqua in the Dark Realm, and Sora comes to their aid, allowing the three of them to restore Aqua and travel to the Castle of Oblivion. En route to Castle Oblivion to have Aqua wake Ventus, she is attacked by Vanitas. In this moment, Sora's powers of awakening return and he restores Ventus, who fights off Vanitas, and saves Aqua. With Ventus and Aqua awake, the party gathers in the Keyblade graveyard and summons the Princesses of Heart to defeat the organization. But Terra summons the Heartless and they consume the Princesses of Heart. Oh no! Sustained by Kairi's heart, Sora awakens in limbo and sets out to gather himself and revives and regains the hearts of his friends and travels back in time to the moment Terra summoned the Heartless to stop this and defeat the organization. With the organization defeated, Sora, Donald and Goofy head off to fight the final boss with Xehanort. With the final battle complete, we set in for a long epilogue that includes Sora's ultimate conclusion to go back in time and revive Kairi. Mickey warns him this will have consequences, but Sora is determined and Riku tells Mickey to trust Sora. After the credits, we are given a beautiful but sad post-credit scene where everyone is gathered on a beach having fun while the camera pans out to Sora and Kairi watching the sunset together. Kairi, holding Sora's hand, is then shown crying. In the final seconds of the scene, Sora's body becomes blurred and vanishes as Faith once again stands in the way of Sora and Kairi being together. As such of a joyful game that this is, and the visual treat that it gave us, I really found myself struggling to like the game, considering that it was just a giant boss rush where you fight and defeat all of the organization and all the story more or less takes place in that final section. It felt like the worlds that you visited beforehand did not matter and it all just came down to the final 2 to 3 hours of the game in a giant boss rush, as already mentioned, against Xehanort. I really thought this game would have been a lot more spectacular. There are people who absolutely love it, but unfortunately this will go a little bit as an L considering how amazing Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2 were. You want the toga? You can't handle the toga. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this retro review looking back from January 1994, bringing us all the way up until modern day of January. And until I see you next time guys, remember, love the toga, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Sláinte.